Hello, everybody. Well, welcome everybody on in. We are right at the top of the hour. Hello, hello, friends. I think people are going to be streaming in. But let me go ahead and kick us off to say, hi, friends. I hope you're doing okay. I'm Angie Hacker, Statewide Best Practices Coordinator with the California Climate and Energy Collaborative. I am here with Rochelle and Steve from the SEEK team, and we're very pleased to have you back for our 35th meeting of the Local Energy Resources Network, which we've been going on for a few years. And you guys know me pretty well by now that I like to face the facts. It's not been our best month when it comes to the funding front, of course, in terms of the outlook kind of looking forward. But I have to tell you, we're okay. The federal funding windfall, as I have been saying for the last few months, was already winding down a bit. A lot of it had been appropriated and awarded, and it was extremely fun while it lasted. And I ought to say that I've been at this a long time, and in my 24 years of doing this work, California communities have always led with or without the federal government support, and I think we'll do it again. So just wanted to give you a little chat here. And of course, well, the week before the election, we got the word that the governor's executive order could represent a hit to PUC energy programs that represent really the only recurring dollars that many locals have access to. So unfortunately, that executive order also called on agencies to replace ratepayer dollars with federal dollars, which that provision clearly didn't age so well. So when there's turbulence out there, usually you look to your flight attendant. So I'm just saying, look to me. I'm not panicked. I'm here to serve. I feel resolute, ready to keep this plane heading forward in the right direction on our energy and climate goals. And I want you to introduce yourself over chat and tell us what you're doing out there to keep yourself strong and resolute as we move forward into the next chapter here. I go running, drink a lot of coffee, and listen to songs like Bon Jovi, This Is Our House, to keep myself pumped. So maybe you should even link to your favorite song that you're listening to on repeat right now. If nothing else, we'll get a laugh. Okay, so we are at it again to talk about opportunities. Buckle up. This is a big meeting and a packed one. So let's get into it. Okay, as always, we're going to run through our opportunity roundtable. This is a place for you to come get briefed on the opportunities that can help you advance your energy and climate goals. And we are going to have a guest speaker to talk to you a little bit about an event coming up that we're helping to put on called Reach Inland Empire. And then we have 4 different speakers talking about 4 different programs related to EV charging. So that's kind of the theme of today. If you can hang around at the end, we'll do our optional bonus breakout for 15 minutes, a little informal overtime. Next slide, please. All right, look at this colorful beast. You guys are used to my hyperlink cheat sheet. This is where we try to just share with you the opportunities that are available now. And you will see in the chat links that are going to be coming up as I walk through some of these highlighted opportunities. And if you know of others that I didn't catch, please drop them in the chat and help. Honestly, at this point, we're going to squeeze as much juice out of the remaining fruit on the tree that we can. So help each other out and make sure that we're all aware of the opportunities out there. One thing I did want to mention, starting out here, is there is going to be something on the policy front that I think is a couple things on the policy front. They're a little bit positive. One thing is, you may have heard that Governor Newsom is going to be meeting with the legislature on December 2nd for a special session to try to protect some of the fundamental policies as the new federal administration takes over, including climate. So it's a good time to be in California, I would say. The other thing that happened as part of the election was Proposition 4, which was the climate bond, $10 billion. It's going to be making its way through the machinations of the government, but more to come on that, and it's primarily for climate resilience. All right, so as you know, policy drives investment, and it already has, and there's a bunch of stuff on the streets now. So let's walk through a couple of the funding opportunities out now. The red items here, these are federal programs with the long trajectory that I just am putting in red because I just want to flag for you that there's a chance that these kinds of things get pulled back. not to discourage you, but just be aware as federal administration changes, sometimes funding opportunities that may have been solicited get pulled back. I would say not all will, but we'll see. I don't have a magic crystal ball. First opportunity I wanted to mention is coming out of the California Energy Commission. It's called Critical Paths 2.0. It's for charging and refueling infrastructure. And so there's $30 million here. It's due January 15th. It is available to public and private entities. Award amounts go from $5 to $10 million. And the purpose of it is to fund projects that will design, construct, and operate publicly accessible, medium and heavy duty, zero emission vehicle, hydrogen refueling and or charging infrastructure along designated corridors in disadvantaged communities or low income communities. So what they call priority populations. So again, that one will be due January 15th. There's quite a few of these that are transportation related and are going to be due in January. So I'm going to highlight a couple more. The next one is another one from the California Energy Commission, reliable, equitable, and accessible charging for multifamily housing. That one will be due January 22nd. That one is the total amount of funding out of the CEC is $19 million. There's no minimum award amount. The eligibility is open to all public and private entities. And the purpose is to demonstrate replicable and scalable business and technology models for large-scale deployment of electric vehicle charging infrastructure capable of maximizing access and EV travel for multifamily housing residents. So multifamily is defined as residential properties with multiple dwellings, and so not single family on this one. Okay, so two from the California Energy Commission and another one from the state. You might see that I'm leaning a little bit more on the state as we proceed here in the next couple of months. Caltrans, Sustainable Transportation Planning Grants. That one is one that has recurred quite a few times. I've had one of these and I think they're fantastic. January 22nd is the due date. There's 3 grants that are part of this program. And I'll just say their names of them quickly. Sustainable Communities Grants. That one is $29.5 million and encourages local and regional planning that supports state goals and implements regional transportation plans and community sustainability strategies. There's another one, Climate Adaptation Planning Grants. That's the one I had. It was there's $3.7 million, again for local and regional identification of transportation-related climate vulnerabilities. And then there's strategic partnership grants, $4.5 million available here to identify and address statewide inter-regional or regional transportation deficiencies on the state's highway system. Okay, lots of transportation related opportunities. Another one here in blue. The reason why it's blue is because we have a speaker on it, so I don't have to say it. That one's from CalSTART. It's Communities in Charge, Funding Wave 3. It opens in a couple days and they're going to tell you more. And so those are the main funding opportunities I wanted to highlight this round. Like I said, they're still coming. Another opportunity that is really for your constituents, less for the government level. I wanted to flag HERA. So it was actually Jeffrey Ling, our friend over at Tech Clean California, wanted to make sure you were aware that Phase 1 rebates are launching today for the HERA program. So this is a federally funded program that was awarded through CEC to Tech Clean California. $45 million available for single-family households, for heat pumps and HVAC, and another $35 for multifamily or for various electrification measures. So between $4,000 and $8,000 available per household. And what he wants me to tell you is that they're looking for more contractors, especially in rural areas. And he really wants to collaborate on outreach to contractors in the general public where there's good contractor coverage. I think Jeffrey might be here and he should drop his email in the chat. He's also going to, I think, hang around for our bonus breakout if you have questions for him on HERA or want to talk more about contracting or identifying contractors. Okay, and now input opportunities. So I got to go to the CPUC's Climate Adaptation Vulnerability Assessment workshop last month. There are comments due if you want to be part of thinking into how we engage community in this process. I'll probably be filing some comments, and if you're somebody who's tracking this and would like to collaborate, I would like to invite you to talk to me or collaborate with me if you want to work together on submitting some comment on that process. The next meeting in that process is called the Climate Adaptation Equity Metrics meeting, where they're going to talk about how they actually define and measure what climate adaptation equity means, and that will happen on November 20th. And there's a link that's going to go here in the chat. Also, just to highlight that Strategic Growth Council has a request for information for those of you that work on infill housing development across the state. They are looking for some input on, I think, overcoming barriers to infill. If you have some input there, they would certainly like it. It's due on New Year's Eve, December 31st. And then finally, before we transition to our next slide, so it's in blue because we're going to talk a bit more about it. You guys know about our state and local energy and climate coordination calls. Those have been happening quarterly. We have lots of people signed up. It's between state and local governments. You guys know we've been trying to extend that process to reach into regions, and we are now going live. And so our first regional convening is planned and out for registration. If we can go to our next slide. I'm going to just share with you a little bit more about Reach Inland Empire. So it's regional energy and climate hubs. And the first one that we're doing is going to be in the Inland Empire at the Morongo Conference Center. So the Morongo tribe in the Inland Empire was gracious enough to host, and our friends at the Inland Regional Energy Network, I really couldn't have done it without them. I have to thank them so much for being willing to partner with me on this little experiment we're running to try to convene key state and regional stakeholders to work together more closely and elevate and catalyze place-based energy, land use, and climate progress. And I gotta say, we're gonna focus a lot on funding and leveraging what we have between local, regional, tribal, other community serving organizations, philanthropy, and the state. And I think it's more important maybe now than it even was when we launched this a few weeks back. So we're going to coordinate directly with both assistance providers that will be on hand, and also we've got agencies that are already booking their travel and excited to come talk to you. So Strategic Growth Council, Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation, California Air Resources Board, Housing and Community Development, and others. They're pretty excited to come and talk to folks, regional stakeholders in San Bernardino, Riverside, and Imperial counties. So that's happening on December 5th. Here's some topics that we are already planning to cover as we're trying to finalize an agenda. Stuff related to climate planning, energy affordability, infill, building decarb, and we're going to spend some time talking about in-state funding sources and how we might deploy it in a more accessible way, which is, like I said, more important now than ever. And we'll talk about the California climate investments, right? GGRF, Proposition 4, what that means next, and even something called the CEQA Mitigation Bank. So if you're in the area, we would love for you to join us. You can register now for free, and we're going to go to other regions next year. So please stay tuned for a reach coming to you, and we would love to partner with you on it like we are partnering with folks in the Inland Empire. So with that, I'm going to hand it to Ben to say a few words from IREN's perspective, why they joined us up on this wild adventure and what they hope you get out of it.
Thanks, Angie. And I just want to say this is such a great opportunity to work with you, and we couldn't have done it without the help of you and your team. This is something that we've been, IREN has been trying to get started, and we indicated in our business plan that we wanted to start reaching out to our tribal members who are in our territory. And so this is a perfect golden opportunity to do that and to start those conversations. So we really appreciate the opportunity, and we hope that you guys will, be able to come and see. We know this is a pilot, but I think it'll be a good success and can be replicated throughout the region and other areas too. So just thanks a lot for the collaboration, Angie, and willingness of your team to work with us to put this on.
Thank you, Ben. It's been like a huge pleasure to work with you all, and thank you so much for everything you're doing to lift this off the ground. All right, folks, so please do register. Look here in the chat for opportunities to register today. Okay, and if you're an assistance provider, we want you there too. All right, let's go to the next slide, please, because I have an opportunity to now stop speaking and introduce our first speaker in this featured conversation we're going to have around EV opportunities. So I am very pleased to introduce another friend from a regional energy network. So she is actually, it's a different reach. Don't be confused. She's going to talk about LA County's program called Reach 2.0, Charge for All. And so Tessa Charnofsky works as a special assistant, special services assistant for LA County's Internal Services Department in their Energy and Environmental Services Division. And so I'm going to leave it up to you, Tessa. Thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say this is a different REACH acronym. Let's go on to the next slide. And I'm so happy to be here. I work for LA County, mainly doing SoCal Ren work, but also with a program called Even Access, which focuses on LA County's transportation work. So the Reach 2.0 grant, I see that there's a third one, Reach 3 coming out. So I'm going to talk about Reach 2. So we got the grant, I don't know, 6 months ago, but we're still in the process of implementing it, getting it off the ground. It's a California Energy Commission grant. Next slide. So this grant is providing LA County with $4 million with a $1 million match, primarily from our lead implementer, Greenwealth Energy. LA County is providing an additional minor match. I'm going to tell you what this program does. It's absolutely fantastic. And the reason for doing this presentation is that we want you to send us property owners who might be interested in joining us and having chargers installed at their sites. So next slide. So essentially what we're going to be doing is installing 320 L2 chargers at multifamily residences in multiple counties. So not just LA County, throughout Southern California. At least 50% of these chargers must be installed in disadvantaged communities. And one of the great things is that we don't want to install the chargers and then have no one use them. Obviously, we want people to lease or purchase electric vehicles. But it's a chicken and egg thing. You know, if you don't have the chargers in your apartment, you might not get an electric vehicle. So we aim to really focus on educating and inspiring people to also lease or purchase electric vehicles. These are our partners below. Greenwealth Energy, as I said, is our lead implementer, and the others are additional partners. Next slide. So we have a really unique program design. It's an owner-operator model, which I'll describe in detail in a moment. As I said, also, we have an outreach and engagement program. It's really robust. We plan to work with every resident to make sure that they know about the benefits of electric vehicles. And then we have a workforce development component, which is not officially part of the program, but we wanted to slip that in. Under SoCal Ren, I do our workforce work. And so I'm like, we got to make sure we can hire people that are getting trained through our Green Path Careers program. And another partner, USGBC California, has a program where some of their graduates will be able to be placed with Greenwealth Energy as well. Next slide. Okay, so what does this program do, or what are the criteria? If you are a property owner, what do you need to have at your property in order to be eligible? So as I said, we're looking at multiple counties. We're looking at LA, Orange, San Bernardino, Riverside, and beyond. So please reach out if you know of properties that might be interested. We're looking at properties that are relatively large, so 50 plus units. As I said, at least 50% disadvantaged communities. We want these to be in non-assigned stalls, so they can't be in assigned stalls. So there must be a place where, you know, guests can come in and where we can place those chargers there. We're looking at things like electrical capacity for the building, the price for installing the chargers, demand for charging, and the number of households in each property. So those are factors that we're considering. And we also would prioritize sites that have an enclosed, secure parking garage. Next slide. So here's the owner-operator model. All program costs are covered. So hardware, software, electric infrastructure, installation and labor for 10 years, operation and maintenance for 10 years is fully covered. And the site host, once costs are covered, will have a profit share. So, energy is not free. So people do have to pay when they are charging their vehicles, although they will be competitive prices. And a portion of that will go to the property owner as well. What's not to like about that? Next slide. Okay, so I don't know if any of you have heard of Electrifies LA, but if not, look it up. It's an LA County website, but you can look at it from any county. It's fantastic. It shows you electric vehicles and how much they cost with incentives for lease and purchase, how far the charge can go, and other details. So check it out. And we're going to use this app to not only educate folks about electric vehicles, but we're going to be tracking their, if they're going to be purchasing or leasing vehicles. So this is part of our data collection. And that is it. So I will put my name in the chat. I think I did that in under 5 minutes, and hope to hear from some of you.
Thank you, Tessa. You're a delightful speaker, and also 5 brownies for you for being so concise.
Early.
Yes. So if you want to talk to Tessa more, she's going to drop her email in the chat. And that program, right, Tessa, is specifically for Southern California folks.
That's
so you're looking
correct.
for local partners. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's go to our next speaker. It's another friend from a local government, this time from the county of Ventura. So we are very pleased to introduce Heather Allen. She's a program administrator in the Sustainability Division with the county of Ventura. And she is going to talk about a program that she helps to run called Equitable Charging Access for Renters in the 805 region. Thank you so much for being here, Heather. Take it away.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Okay, the challenge, speak under 5 minutes. So I'm here representing County of Ventura, our programs 3C REN and the Ventura County Regional Energy Alliance. And I'm here to talk about equitable charging access for renters in the 805 region, which we shorten to ECAR 805. This is our project that's funded by the REACH 2.0 grant that Tessa went over. And our award amount is $3.85 million. Next slide, please. So ours is a regional collaboration across 3 counties, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura, and it's to expand EV charging access to low-income multifamily housing. UCSB is the lead, and 3C REN, County of Ventura, and City of Santa Barbara will manage the charging station installations. And we're going to have help from Ecology Action for our northern sites that are located in PG&E territory. VCREA and Community Environmental Council are our outreach partners, and we have key partners that include a lot of our local cities, air pollution control districts, housing authorities, affordable housing agencies, and a few private multifamily housing providers. And all of our partners, we crowdsourced our sites, and it's through all of our existing partnerships. So next slide, please. So our approach is to build off existing efforts, including 3C REN's multifamily home energy savings program. And luckily, we already have 3 regional electric transportation working groups called, originally it was Electric Drive 805, but we're transitioning to name to Electric Ride 805. And then our Central Coast Clean Cities Coalition, RC5. All 3 counties have been working together on regional alternative transportation plans since 2011. So we have a great network. And additionally, each of the counties currently have a zero emission vehicle plan. And we also are part of Central Coast ZEV plans. All 3 counties participate in EV outreach. A lot of us participate in EVs for Everyone, which is Ecology Action's initiative that Community Environmental Council helped bring to the South Central Coast. And in Ventura, we have an EV coach that is a resource for agencies or cities, businesses, and the public to help transition to electrified transportation. So the EV coach helps, get people into EVs and also helps entities install charging stations. And I believe the other 2 counties have similar resources, either agency staff or staff from nonprofits that help with this. And since the REACH 2.0 funding, oh, sorry, go back. Since the REACH 2.0 funding will not cover the cost of installation at most sites, we plan to stack funding to make our projects feasible. And so these additional resources of funding are coming from existing grants like Electrify America grant, as well as state and federal grants. We also are looking at using SCE's Charge Ready program and PG&E's EV charging program for multifamily housing. And again, Ecology Action, I believe, already partners with PG&E on this program. And then our 3 local APCDs also have some funding that they will help contribute to getting these sites constructed. And then if we still need to stack additional fundings, we'll look to our local CCEs. And then our project also includes a lot of outreach to multifamily providers and residents. And this is also building on existing efforts, including we have EV car shows. We have the free EV purchase guidance that's similar to EVs for Everyone initiative. We're doing multilingual outreach, including outreach materials in Mixteco. We have a indigenous community that is in Santa Barbara and Ventura counties. And then one fun item that I wanted to mention when we do these on-site EV car shows at multifamily housing, we have an EV mascot called EV McWheelie. And during the car shows, we allow kids to paint, like hand paint our fleet EVs. And then we also bring a portable charging station so that people can practice plugging in the charging stations. So it gets people like excited and happy to paint all over the EV and then practice charging or plugging in chargers. So it's not so scary your first time doing it. Next slide, please. And then just some highlights. Our project plans to install 379 charging ports, which is a mix of level 1 and level 2 charging at 67 locations across 18 cities and towns and unincorporated communities. 98.4% of these charging ports will serve multifamily housing residents in low income and disadvantaged communities, and 44.1% of our sites are located at local housing authorities and other affordable housing sites. So last slide. I just wanted to highlight why grants like REACH 2.0 and 3.0 are important. So if you look at this slide, we have, or in Ventura County, we have a regional EV blueprint with goals for public charging, DC fast charging, and for shared private charging, which means employee and multifamily charging. So the bar graph on the left shows zero emission vehicles registered in Ventura County, according to the DMV. The green line is our 2025 goal for registered EVs. And it shows that we've surpassed the goal in 2024. The bar chart on the right shows existing ports in green, ports that are grant funded in blue, and the yellow is our 2025 goal for charging ports according to our EV blueprint. We hit our DC fast charging goals, which is shown on the last bar on the right, and we're making good progress with public charging, which is shown in the bar on the left. However, we still are reaching, we still have far to reach for our private charging goals, which again is employee multi-family charging, and that's shown in the middle bar graph on the left with the huge yellow space. And that's the difference between existing and funding charging stations and then our 2025 goal. That's all. And I'm happy to put my contact information in. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Great presentation. I mean, so we've heard from 2 counties that are really good examples of taking grant dollars and doing something regionally with a lot of regional collaboration, turning those investments into real charging infrastructure. So great to hear it. I think, Heather, it sounds like you're looking for more stackable resources and funding and participants for your program. So we wish you the best of luck with that. Folks, if you have questions for those 2 speakers, please be dropping them in the chat. We are going to move on to our next speaker, not from a local government, but interested in working with local governments. So I'm very pleased to welcome Daniel Hilson. He's the CEO and founder of a company called BetterFleet. And they were also a recipient of a grant, this one called Redwoods out of the CEC. And he's going to talk to you about an opportunity for local governments related to EV charging. Thank you for being here, Daniel. Great,
thank you. Lovely to meet you all, and it's an honor to be here speaking. If you want to go to the next slide, or the next slide even. I won't do a sales pitch, but just to give you context about who we are. Essentially, BetterFleet is a zero-emission focused organization that's helping to accelerate the transition for zero-emission fleets, planning, optimization, and managing. We're founded in 2016 in Australia by myself, and we expanded off globally from that point. We've helped over 200 complex fleets with a big focus on municipalities in itself. We are very R&D focused and do a lot of grants. So the grant we're going to talk about today is one of many that we're working on. And we do collaborate a lot with research institutes and different fleets around the world. If you want to go to the next slide. And essentially our kind of mission is to help solve the complexity and create a seamless experience in the transition, right from the planning stage all the way through to operational management. And we have software that goes right across that entire spectrum, and that sort of planning software, optimization and management, as well as services. So you want to go to the next slide. I'm really here to talk today about the Redwoods grant, as was mentioned. It's a very exciting grant, one that both combines technology and practical outcomes. We're here to look for people that want to participate, and I'll explain the benefits in a moment. It's part of the Clean Transportation Program from the California Energy Commission, which is really about how to help fleets integrate with the grid. And this was really a very competitive grant that we won as part of that. And we were awarded $1.7 million for phase 1 with $25.7 million for phase 2. It was a collaboration with EPRI, Energy Resource Institute, Kaizo, who's the energy market operator, SMUD and SCE, and a lot of fleets that were sort of supportive, not official grantees, but supportive of the grant. And as part of that grant, our software was sort of a cornerstone of that in terms of helping to do that decarbonisation and to do this smart integration with the grid. If you want to go to the next slide. So what are we trying to solve? The proposal, for the California Energy Commission was really around how do you integrate these fleets? And it's quite a complex problem because fleets are just trying to actually buy the EVs and charge. And so doing anything with the energy market is kind of a cherry on top. And so we were really trying to look at how do you do that and make it realistic, and how do we tap into the various programs that exist from the various energy organizations and really monetize those for the fleets without kind of impinging upon their core purpose for being, which is really about delivering the services, whether that's waste or any other transportation service that you're trying to deliver. So it was about two elements to that: our planning software, helping organizations to work out what's possible while they're planning, what sort of charging infrastructure they should buy, how do you optimize that, and then just for the fleet itself, but then around that, how do we show them that they can participate and monetize some of these opportunities? Because if they don't buy the equipment that's required up front, they won't have the opportunities later on. So the first phase is really about piloting and understanding those opportunities. And the second phase is about scaling that up and operationalizing it. If you want to go to the next slide. So in terms of what that really means, what are the types of things you can participate in? Some of you might be familiar, but there's a lot of demand response programs in different areas. There's a lot of programs that are around dynamic rates, which are less well understood. There's a lot of programs, obviously, like V2G in some of those areas. And really our job is to try all of those different programs, really use this first phase to figure out the best way to monetize for different types of fleets. So really what we presented to the CEC was that it was also about looking at different use cases within large fleets, like municipals have 5 or 6 different use cases, but also between different types of fleets to see what was possible. At the end of it saying, look, per charger, if people install this equipment, if they do use the right software and different techniques, they can monetize, call it $300 or $400 a year per charger. As that scales up, that can be quite significant. Also, complying with other programs, LCFS credits, etc. If you want to go to the next slide. So really, like, most fleets can participate, ideally in an area where you have some kind of time of use rates. We can look at, even municipal utilities as well. We can, collaborate with local utilities if they have time of use rates. And ideally, people who are in process of installing or have already installed EV charging for their fleets, who are looking for a charge management system or to replace an existing charge management system. And, obviously with all these programs, there is priority given to low income or disadvantaged communities. If you go to the next slide. So what do you get if you participate? Essentially free access to some equipment. We do fund charges. We provide the software for free. We give this cost of optimization and ideally give some benefit from that. Comprehensive support. We help with the planning and with the implementation, project management if it's required for the equipment itself. If you want to go to the next slide. So how do you participate? We have a meeting with you. We talk through what is actually required and achievable through this process. We show you what is possible, what the benefits would be, and help you through a decision-making process with your own internal stakeholders as to whether to participate. If you do decide to participate, we do a collaboration agreement and we do a software license agreement. That's really all that's required. And essentially we can then move forward. The form of procurement that we've worked with others. So we have a number of fleets that have already signed up, from Oakland City to LADOT to MWD, which is a Metropolitan Water District. Because it is a grant and because it does have support from the CEC and others, it's fairly easy, we found, with most of them to go through procurement because there's no payment required. So obviously I'm trying to be quick because it is a short time frame I have to present. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an overview, and please contact me for more information and we can help you understand whether it will work for your organization. Just a quick plug as well for another program that we've started and instigated called NFEN, which is a National Fleet Electrification Network, which was a DOE grant for $4 million to build charging hubs in participation with municipalities and utilities. We have a lot of exciting utilities signed up to that already, and also participating fleets, and we'd love to find others. Holly will put a link to that in the chat as well. Great to meet you all again. I'm honored to be able to participate and present.
Thanks, Daniel. Really appreciate you being here. And folks, if you have questions for Daniel, drop them in the chat. We're going to get to it right after our next speaker. And the unsung hero here so far has been the California Energy Commission. So we'll just give them a shout out to say thank you for the funding that has turned into real programs that you all have access to. I know that Daniel's excited. I think he's one of several recipients of that Redwoods grant, but is perhaps the only one really focused on local agencies. So an opportunity to partner there. Okay, last but not least, we are also going to dive into a different program. This one not funded out of CEC. I think it's actually emanates from CARB. But our last speakers are coming to us from Grid Alternatives. So we are going to be joined by Megan Schmessing. She is the program manager in clean mobility, and she's going to talk to us about CalStart's Community in Charge program. And I believe she's also here with Norah Kyassa. So I'm not sure which one wants to take over first, and I'll also introduce Josh Simmons. He's some guy. No, he's actually my partner at Prosper Sustainably, but he's working with Grid Alternatives on this program as well. But I'll hand it off to Megan and Norah first. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Angie. And Megan unfortunately couldn't make the meeting this morning, so I'll go ahead and cover all the presentation slides for Grid. So I guess we can get started. All right, next slide, please. So just to provide everyone some context on Grid Alternatives, we are a nonprofit organization focused on the successful and equitable transition to clean energy. We do this usually through a variety of renewable and clean energy projects, as well as workforce development, because we believe that a successful transition to clean energy must include everyone. Next slide, please. So as we heard through our last three presentations, there are a lot of benefits of EVs and EV charging stations. So one of the things or a couple of the things that we try to promote when talking about EV charging stations is that residents can save on gas and maintenance. The installation of EV charging stations and the usage of electric vehicles reduces CO2 emissions throughout the state, which in turn provides clean air and health benefits for residents throughout California. Next slide, please. So there are 3 types of EV charging stations. Communities in Charge focuses specifically on level 2 EV charging stations. The reason for this is level 2 EV charging is really great for destination charging, as it takes about 4 to 6 hours for a EV to reach a full charge using a level 2 EV station. And since this program is tailored to commercial properties, that was the best charging station moving forward. Next slide, please. So Communities in Charge is a financial incentive program for level 2 EV chargers throughout the state of California, where communities live and gather. The last funding wave closed on December 22nd, 2023. However, the upcoming funding wave opens on November 14th, so in a couple days, and will be open through January 31st, 2025. And then for up-to-date information on the Communities in Charge program, we always encourage potential applicants, interested applicants, to join the email list at cicemaillist.com. Next slide, please. So there are 4 key program stakeholders within this program. So the overseeing agency is the California Energy Commission. The project implementer is CalSTAR. At Grid, we serve as the outreach and equity partner on the program. So one of the ways in which we try to ensure that the equity metrics of the program are being met is we focus our work specifically in disadvantaged and low-income communities. One of the ways in which we try to reach disadvantaged and low-income communities, as well as tribal communities, since these are considered the equity communities of the program, is we partner with a lot of different CBOs throughout the state. One of our partners right now is Prosper Sustainably, as Angie mentioned at the beginning of our presentation. So we are partnering with Prosper Sustainably to reach as many tribal communities throughout the state as possible, to really educate them on Communities in Charge, as well as hopefully achieve some successful applications with them. And then the other stakeholder involved in the program is Tetra Tech, and they provide the technology for the Incentive Processing Center, which is where applicants submit their applications. Next slide, please. So like I mentioned, Communities in Charge, the overall goal is to really ensure the acceleration of the installation of light-duty electric vehicle charging equipment. And the way that we're doing that is through the incentive project, but one of the key focuses of the project is really to prioritize equity through targeted outreach to community connections, which is a specific type of commercial property, which we'll get into a little bit later, as well as other eligible commercial project sites. So that includes multifamily housing, malls, any type of commercial property site is eligible to apply for Communities in Charge. Next slide, please. So in terms of kind of eligibility for the program, so sites must install a minimum of 4 connectors. So that can usually be either a single port connector or a dual port connector. And they can install up to a maximum of 20 connectors. Workplaces and multifamily housing can install up to a maximum of 40 connectors. And applicants may also apply for multiple project sites. So for example, if a multifamily housing property owner has 2 properties, they'd be able to submit 2 separate applications and receive 2 incentive awards for those property sites. Some examples of eligible project costs include EV charging equipment, electric panels, operations and maintenance plans, extended warranties, and demand management equipment. And the way that we support our applicants at Grid is we provide technical assistance and application support through a technical assistance document, which pretty much provides an overview of what the project is anticipated to look like, as well as potential operation costs and future-proofing the projects as well. Next slide, please. So like I mentioned, to meet the equity metrics of the program implementers developed what are called community connections. So these are 8 different types of commercial properties that are awarded points on the program's rubric system. So all of these are created and designed with disadvantaged and low-income communities in mind. So multifamily housing in charge, for example, would be affordable multifamily housing projects in the state, and they would receive an additional $2,000 towards their incentive awards. There's also healthcare in charge, schools in charge, congregations in charge. Again, really just ensuring that the implementation and installation of these chargers is equitable throughout the state. Next slide, please. So in terms of incentive amounts, it actually has increased this funding wave, which is really exciting for us. So the base incentive for the program is up to $6,500 or 100% of eligible project costs, whichever is less. Like I mentioned, multifamily housing project sites receive an additional $2,000 toward eligible project costs. And if it's a project site for tribal government, tribal entity, or an NGO serving tribal communities, they would receive an additional $3,500 toward eligible project costs. So if you do work with a tribal government, tribal entity, or NGO, like I mentioned, we are working with Prosper Sustainably. So please feel free to reach out to Josh and get connected that way as well. But a critical example is an eligible applicant whose multiple family housing project site is located on tribal lands may be eligible to receive $12,000 per eligible connector. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is that unfortunately incentive stacking, including any state, federal, or other local EV charging programs, are not permissible while concurrently participating in communities in charge. However, applicants may still apply to any federal tax credit incentive, as well as the low carbon fuel standard program. Next slide, please. So project site eligibility, like I mentioned, pretty much any type of commercial property site or multifamily site in California are eligible to apply. As this is a statewide program, we work with all counties within the state of California and any type of commercial property site. We really like to focus specifically on community connections to make sure that we're reaching those in disadvantaged and low-income communities at Grid Alternatives. But if you would like application support or technical assistance at Grid, feel free to reach out to us as well. And some examples of eligible sites. So for a workplace, that would include a staff parking lot, an adjacently owned parking lot, parking lots for light duty fleet vehicle charging. And something important to note here is that all applicants must either be the property owner, leasee, or an authorized representative of the project, as well as the applicant who will incur the cost of the project. Next slide, please. So in preparing an incentive application for communities in charge, we kind of outline a couple steps that we think are important for potential applicants. So the first is getting to know your key partners. There will be a lot of moving parts in this project. So the first is if you are an authorized representative or leasee, getting to know the property owner of the application process. That's really important, as well as the electrical contractor, if there's any facility managers that you need to connect to. And then the next step is getting to know your site. So this is usually done through a site assessment. So this is really to understand where the chargers will be placed, the electrical capacity of the site, how many connectors you would like to install, what EVSP you would like to go with. So that's the manufacturer of the charger, etc. The third step is determining your budget. So like I mentioned, we provide a technical assistance report once you tell us how many connectors you would like to install, where we can kind of estimate what your anticipated incentive award amount would be. But then once that site assessment is conducted, we can also from there reassess your budget and determine should you kind of remove a couple connectors? Do you actually have more in your budget to install connectors? And then go from there. And then the last step is preparing your application and documents. So Grid will assist our potential applicants through the application process, as well as getting any supplemental documents, such as letters of support, site plans, anything like that. We can work with our applicants to make sure that they have those documents ready and are able to submit to be considered a tier 1 ready to go site for the application process. Next slide, please. And yeah, to learn more about getting started on a Communities in Charge project, we have our QR code here, which will lead you to our technical assistance interest worksheet. So just feel free to fill that out. But if you do have other questions, you can also contact us at communitiesinCharge@gridalternatives.org. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you guys so much.
Norah, thank you. So incentives, and including for local governments, but a lot of others as well, through Communities in Charge. And I want to give Josh an opportunity. Let's go back for a second. Josh, an opportunity to chime in. He's put a lot of stuff in the chat that I think is useful to raise up.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. So, I work on this from the perspective of, getting tribes that are, prepared to move forward with these projects, ensuring it's a good fit for them and ensuring that they can actually be in a position to, secure the rebate, use it, understand the kind of costs and benefits. But key thing that jumps out, from last wave to this wave is that the rebate now can cover up to 100% of the cost, which is critical as opposed to having to cover a minimum of 25% of the cost. And really, the community charge program prioritizes readiness. So regardless of whether or not this is for a disadvantaged community or not, really, as long as it's an eligible facility, if you can get an application that achieves that tier 1 readiness level, then you have a really good shot of, so long as you meet all the other requirements, you have a really good shot of securing the rebates for that particular facility or that series of sites. Like, as a government entity, different meters and different facilities will qualify as separate sites. So, that means getting final designs, securing permits if they're applicable. So that may be tough and, to accomplish in a matter of just a few months. But, if you can get there, then you can, kind of really be in a position to secure a pretty substantial amount of funding if you're looking to install level 2 chargers.
All right. Thanks, Josh. So EV Palooza, there's a lot of opportunity. Don't you all feel better just knowing how many opportunities are out right now? I actually see, I don't want to put you on the spot, but Andrew Reyes from CARB, he's here. He's always such a delight, and I think he's probably very excited to hear us talking so much about opportunities to make it easier to transition your fleets, as he oversees the Advanced Clean Fleet regulations for CARB. Andrew, do you want to say anything while we're closing out here? And folks, raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, well, we wait and see. I'm going to lift up a couple of the questions that came into chat. So City of La Mesa was asking, I'm curious to learn more about Green Wealth and who will own and operate all the chargers. How are they selected and how is it going? And that was a question for Tessa at LA County, who said we had a competitive bidding process. Is there anything else you want to add there, Tessa?
No, I mean, it's going well. So, at this point, we are still finalizing agreements with property owners. So, we are open to your ideas and possible new property owners. In terms of the Green Wealth, this is our first time working with them. We're excited. They're doing a great job. And yeah, all is good.
Right. Thank you. SB had a couple of questions. She asked, Heather, this is a question for you. What company provided the portable charging station?
We're working with 2 companies. Oh my gosh. EV Arc and Paired Power.
Nothing like being put on the spot.
Sorry, my brain.
Okay, thank you. And she's also asking a question for Josh. Treatment Center for Veterans would this facility be eligible to apply for communities in charge? I think that's for Josh or Norah.
Really, any facility in California that's not a single family or duplex or triplex would be eligible. So yes.
Great. Folks, you can raise your hand if you'd like. I did see Andrew come on screen. Did you want to say a couple words?
Hey, Angie, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I was having some technical difficulties. Yeah, so I work with CARB. I'm an air resource engineer. If you guys have any advanced clean fleets questions, especially for our state and local government entities, I can surely help you with that. If I can't, I can definitely get someone that can. So send questions your way, send questions my way, and I'll help you out.
Okay, perfect. Well, as you are looking ahead to Advanced Clean Fleet regulations, know that there's some support out there to help us all transition in the right direction. I feel like you all did such a good job with the timing and being concise, but I imagine some folks out there are dizzy. So I'm going to give a challenge to our speakers because I think we shared a lot of stuff. Could you really quickly just restate, I provide this to this group of eligible people, and here's how you should take advantage, and here's what to do next. is that a tough challenge? Just to restate it, and just, sometimes repetition helps. Can we start with you, Tessa?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking that we ought to pull up the Electrify site to show people how it works because it's such a great site. And our goal is to expand electric vehicle use in California. And we provide through the Reach 2 grant, all costs are covered, including maintenance and operation for 10 years for property owners. And half of them are DAX and half of them are non-DAX. So, it could be that your friend or family member has a property and they've been wanting to do this and they haven't done it. It's hard because property managers or owners, they don't often see the incentive, the reason to spend money on this. It's a huge expenditure and it's hard to maintain and operate this equipment. That's why this model where they don't have to worry about it, like it's taken care of, is I think really an innovative and important way to expand electric vehicle charging in multifamily properties. So we have space. We could take some of your folks that you would send to us. So that's my message. And look at Electrify's LA.
All right, and Kelsey drop that back in the chat. Thank you. Heather, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I work with a regional collaboration, and our goal is to get people driving electric vehicles and also install charging stations. Our hardest to reach area is multifamily housing. And so we are looking for grants and matching funds to help install charging stations at multifamily housing, but we really focus on public charging, and we work with businesses, housing providers, community members, anyone. So please contact me. Thanks.
All right, Dan, are you still here to do
I
your
am.
final?
No
Okay.
problem. So yeah, we can provide you with free charging infrastructure, free software, and that can go to any municipality, or even if you know fleets in your region, that might be exciting. And you'll get not only that, but essentially cost savings ongoing from energy market participation, learning a lot about how that works and trialing some interesting energy market stuff in general. If you want to get involved, just contact Holly or myself.
All right, nicely done. Everybody's doing such a good job with my mean request for a final infomercial. Norah.
Yeah, I think at Grid, our overall goal is to increase the deployment of EV charging within disadvantaged, low income, and tribal communities. And we do this through providing education and outreach with our lovely partners such as Prosper Sustainably, but also by offering these communities technical assistance and application assistance to really make sure that they're able to feel supported through the submission of a communities in charge application.
Like I prepared you guys for that, and I did not. So good work, everybody. Can we all say a big thank you again to our speakers who did a fantastic job, really showcasing for us all the opportunity that there is here in California for EV charging. Okay, well, this is our last slide of our formal session. We end at noon and then we go to our bonus breakout. But I just want to say I always feel better being with you all, and thank you for that. And thank you for your chats, which has brightened my day, giving us your tips and tricks for songs and exercise and things that you are doing this week to keep yourself strong. We got a lot of work to do. So let's go ahead and just remind you that next month we are going to be back at it. That will be on December 10th for our next monthly Learn. That's an opportunity for us to do our annual policy wrap up. So we usually do that in December every year. So we're hoping to have our legislative director and LGSCC regulatory analyst here for that, so you can get kind of a snapshot of what happened in 2024, what might we look forward to in 2025 in the legislative and regulatory space. So come back, share it with a friend. We'll keep at it just like you are. So with that, thanks very, very much for continuing to come. And I think what we will do is turn off that recording and move right into our bonus breakout.